Today we have a very general topic. It is about orphans in Islam. The existence and thanksgiving of parents is not realized by most of us and most of the people who are privileged to have parents. But there are certain people who would value it more than us and would actually appreciate it more than we would ever know. That are the orphans. An orphan, by the stipulative definition of Islam, is not just a person who has no parents. In Islam, it actually means a minor who, by the will of Allah, has no parents or just one parent. So in Islam, the absence of a father, either by death or abandonment or any other reason, will result in that child becoming an orphan. And that child will be an orphan until he or she reaches maturity or puberty. Because orphans are minors, in the societal view, they are physically weak because they cannot take care of themselves. And they are very challenged because of their social situations. And this will be exacerbated according to the geographical location. For example, the orphans in Africa will have a much harder time than, say, the orphans in the West. There is no doubt that supporting orphans is a very universal theme. But Islam is the only faith that has so extensively mentioned about orphans in our teachings. In fact, in Islam, the word yatim, or the word that which is the Arabic word for orphan, has been mentioned more than 20 times in the Quran, indicating the importance that Islam lays down for the parentless children. The many merciful verses, besides giving hope to the orphans, also prove a point that Allah has not taken away the parents just because He has ill will, but because it is a test for us and for them. We should understand how Islam wants to test and teach us through the pain and suffering that orphans go through. There is a lot of traditions and faith that we can see from the traditions of our Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt. It is mentioned in the Holy Quran, and you shall do good to your parents and to the near of kin and the orphans. So it has been said explained by the scholars that orphans are mentioned right after your family, and because of the importance they have. And if you go right after your family, the first people you have to give responsibility for are orphans. So basically what happens is, instead of the guardian that the orphan has lost, that responsibility is distributed amongst the people of the Muslim people who are in the society of that orphan. It is because they are deprived of a father who is the guardian, protector and bread earner of the family. Next, the Quran also describes the righteous people as those who give food to the orphans, and those who give food out of love for Him to the poor and the orphan and the captive. Allah calls to justly treat the orphan children. Therefore, the Islamic community should be raised with thought of justice and equity towards orphans. In addition to the pronouncement of doing good towards orphans and the oppressed children, the Quran also addresses the responsibilities and the duties of the guardians that are going to take care of these orphans. There will be many, if there's an orphan and somebody is going to adopt him, that person is a guardian. Now he has certain responsibilities and rules that he has to follow. So amongst them, the Quran states, and give the orphans their property and do not exchange something bad from yours for something good of theirs, nor devour their property along with your own, for it is surely a great crime. So this is very illuminating, this verse from the Quran. It gives very strict 3 laws. Besides the first verse, which says that you should not take something that is good, that is beneficial for you in exchange for something that might be not as beneficial for the orphan. That is not enough. There are more rules. Firstly, the guardian can take the property till the orphan is minor and keep it as a trustee. Secondly, the guardian should not consume the property that he has taken of the orphan for any reason of his own. And most importantly, the guardian should also not mix his property with that of the orphans. So this is sometimes a reason that, especially charitable trusts and donations camp, where the money that is donated, sometimes it is a small part of it is actually sidelined for the use of the people that are working there, saying if the orphans are supposed to be taken care of, they should first the caregivers should be taken care of. While that is true, the money that they receive for that should be explained and obtained in a more truthful manner, because a person paying or providing support or any kind of goods for the orphan, they expect that to reach the orphan in the final stage. So that this secondary route is not actually very truthful or honest. They should also keep in mind that the wealth of the orphans is not applied outside the profit of the orphans. This is what I just explained about. The external help that is coming from the people who want to help the orphans also technically belong to the orphans. So they are also under all the rules mentioned before. All in all, well-being of the orphan and an honest assessment of of their expenses should be met and documented by the guardians. The Quran also tells about the property being given back to the orphans when they reach the age of maturity, and the warns against such transgressions. And it's mentioned in the Quran, and let those fear who, if they left behind them weakly children, would fear on their account, so let them be in awe of Allah and let them speak right words. This verse signifies that consuming the wealth of orphans will receive its effects in this world itself through their own orphans, as well as in the next world through the wrath of Allah. That is how strict it is. It is not very common to see a statement saying that you will feel the effects of some misdeed in the dunya itself. We should be kind to the orphans of other people so that our orphans are also treated in the same way in the future. And when I say our orphans, I mean like in our community, in our small communities, in our small societies. There are many other traditions from the Ahlul Bayt that teach us about showing kindness to the orphans and taking up active roles for their nourishment and development. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq says, one who maintains the orphans makes paradise obligatory upon him, in the same way as he makes hell obligatory upon those who take the property of the orphans. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ has said, I and the one who maintains an orphan would be together in paradise in the presence of Allah in the same way as these two fingers are together, and he would point his index and middle finger together. And so this is a very powerful statement from the Prophet. That shows the beautiful tradition of Islam. If anyone from you becomes the guardian of an orphan and deals kindly with him, and he fulfills these actions satisfactorily, and he strokes the head of the orphan with sympathy, then Allah necessarily writes good deeds equivalent to the hair covered by the hand, and forgives sins equal to the number of hair, and raises his positions in grade equal to the hair of the orphan's head. It's a very beautiful and descriptive hadith in which you can see that a very small and gentle action, such as showing sympathy by stroking the hair. This is a more extrapolatory definition. It means that any kind of caregiving that you can give in such manner will reach you very, very large rewards. On the second half of Ramadan, we actually after the first third of Ramadan, we start supplicating to Allah, "Oh Allah, on this day, let me have mercy on the orphans and feed the hungry and spread peace and keep company with the noble-minded." So here itself we can see Ramadan is one of the most sacred months and the most sacred period of any Muslim's life. So there itself, something that we do, the fast that we do, is in a way related understanding the sufferings of the orphans. So having mercy on the orphans is a very noble act, and showing kindness these days is not a very easy thing. It is not as simple as it may have once used to be, because now we have more secluded, we are more segregated away from those who are misfortunate. We do not, with our own eyes, see too many of the distraughted and unfortunate people. So we easily forget them, because we do not witness them personally all the time. For this purpose, therefore, there are many charitable institutes, and what we can do is, as we have planned from our side this time, is provide money, give them donations, visit them, as in your presence itself can sometimes make a big change for the orphans who are often lonely. And another way is praying for them, or for praying for the orphans, including them in your du'as. This is another way you can help them. At the end, we should remember the following deed that Imam Ali dictated in the document to his son Imam Hassan. Beware, beware, do not ever be neglectful of orphans. I warn you again, never leave an orphan hungry and unprotected. And this is very enlightening. Here it shows that unlike some deeds where you do it, you are told to do it and it is good if you do it, this responsibility that we have for the orphans, and if you extrapolate that to something else, it's also to the other poor and needy people. It is something that is not enough that you do, because if you don't do it, it is bad. It has been recorded in the book called the Book of Sins, and it is written by a great Imam. And here, this hadith also is coming from that book. So it shows you that it is not just enough to try and do it. It is our duty. So we should do it, and that is, I think, the most important thing that we should take away from this. So may Allah give us a better chance to fulfill our duties well in this regard.